Okay, I assume we're all here. So, hello everyone, and welcome to Veeam webinar. Actually, today we'll be talking about awesome Veeam Data Labs, and that's really very exciting topic, I have to say. And don't be afraid of a true marketing name of this webinar, because we'll cover many technical aspects of our well-known data labs. And actually, before we'll start, I'd like to ask you a simple question, just one simple question. Are you already using data labs in some way? Actually, you can drop the answer in the questions or maybe in the chat. That's up to you. If you do, please just put something like yes or plus sign or whatever. If no, okay, I won't be waiting for all of you to respond. I'll have a look into your answers just maybe a bit later. Okay, and now just a few words about myself. I'm Nikolay Stankevich, and I'm a senior SE at Veeam working for UK&I team. Actually, you can find my contact details at this page if you need them. And my main focus here at Veeam is actually our products. All those products that we have in our product portfolio, how they work, how they can help you, our clients, how they can integrate in your production infrastructure and how you can benefit from them. And for sure, everything from technical perspective. Okay, now just a few words about this webinar. First of all, you were automatically muted, but you can still post your questions in a special section of GoToMeeting. So you can easily do that. You can post your questions wherever you like, whenever you like, but I'm not 100% sure that I'll have enough time to answer them straight away during the webinar. So we'll have a special time, a few minutes at the very end of the webinar for me to answer all of your questions if you have them. And this recording, for sure, we're recording this webinar, and the recording will be available for you later after a webinar. Okay, so what will we have today from the agenda perspective? First, we'll start with an introduction to Veeam DataLabs to give those of you who have never used our really nice data labs a better understanding. What's that from a vendor's perspective? How data labs could be used, and what's the main idea behind? After that, we'll get closer to a bit more, let's say, technical side of things, and I'll be getting more into data labs components. What are they called? What are they needed for? And why do we need them? And then we're gonna get more into actions. We'll be talking on how to use data labs. I'll show you a few short demos on how to configure and what you can do with them. These parts will be extremely useful for those of you who've never tried our demo labs before or who haven't yet understood the technology behind. After which, if you're a Veeam existing customer, you'd be able to leverage this brilliant technology that you already may have, but were not using before. If you're not Veeam customer at that moment, so at least you'll be aware that there is such an interesting, brilliant, nice thing available for you with our solutions. Actually, it's not only about Veeam Backup Application program, our main solution, our core component, but there are many other parts of Veeam availability platform that are leveraging Veeam Data Labs, and we'll actually discuss a few of these cases at the very end of our today's webinar. Also, later I'll give you a few links to our resources that can help you to get started with data labs. Okay, so from Veeam point of view, our main, let's say, cornerstone is everything about backup, replication, and recovery. And actually, we're all doing backups every day to be able to recover in case of failure or an outage. And that's the main idea. We need these backups or virtual machine replicas to restore our sensitive data back in real case of need. And we need to do this as fast as possible. Many times I had when backups are compared to kind of insurance. We may never have a problems with the car, but if we'll do, it's always better to have this insurance in place. Otherwise, it may cost literally a fortune, especially when it comes not to car, but to production data in our infrastructures. I think you'd agree with me. Okay, so as for the table we have right now in front of us on our screens, that's the table 6, right? Any solution can back up and restore something. And we're pretty unique in a way that we can recover whatever you may need. We can do that really very fast, and our solutions are extremely reliable. But today, we want to talk about the differentiator, how we can leverage the data. So let's discuss it a little bit more. Actually, the main idea of our data labs is leveraging the data, doing a bit more with the data you already have. And now for those of you who've answered no in the very beginning of our today's webinar that you're not using data labs or maybe you're not aware, I really want to ask you one additional question, one question more. Why are you not leveraging the data? That's just really simple question. Why? Because I have to say that it's literally a gold mine of data allowing you to do so much more. Okay, you've made an investment in where you're storing your data, basically in storage used for backups, where you're storing this data. And these data can be extremely valuable from security analytics perspective. We all know how the data can be valuable. And now we'll try to understand a little bit more about how we leverage the data to do more for the business. We all know how critical the data is. We're hearing that almost every day from many different sources like different vendors, mass media, talking about data, etc. It's everywhere. We all understand that there is a lot of pressure from business that you have to keep lights on, but usually they won't give you any additional resources to do that. And I'm sure that there are a lot of other day-to-day things and different activities you have to change on a daily basis, whether that's just regular upgrades or testing, not to talk about vulnerability testing, ransomware attacks, and other problems of 21st century IT. And we always have to keep everything up to date. So, a quick overview. What is Veeam DataLabs? In fact, actually, it's, let's say, the ability to gain some additional business value from data without disrupting your daily operations. Sometimes, and some of my colleagues, we do really like to treat our data labs as a kind of umbrella that covers 4 key features. First of all, that's on-demand sandbox. Yeah, you can just, if you have backups created or virtual machine replicas created, you can take Those backups replicas present them in isolated environment with isolated networking part, and give this environment to developer or an IT guy with the ability to leverage the data, get inside and do whatever they may like. Other component, second component, is Sure Backup or Sure Replica. That's actually the way how you can know that all the virtual machines you need will come up in case of need when you'll be recovering your data back in case of failure, disaster, outage. That's the technology that can make you 100% sure that your workloads are recoverable. Sure Backup also allows you to automate and schedule verification process, and it's really nice because today we have to automate, let's say, everything, or at least most of the processes possible. Okay, so we'll take these virtual machines up for you in order to verify. We'll spin them up in an isolated environment and run the tests, virtual machine tests, operating system tests, applications and services that are inside. We'll test literally everything. And that's not just a regular, checksum test or whatever. We'll spin them up, in fact, to confirm that everything will come up as it should do. And you can make it run straight after a backup job to verify the latest restore point for recoverability, or you can schedule it to run, maybe on a weekly basis, monthly basis. That's up to you here. And to do that, actually, it's really very simple. And also we do have another two features, or I better prefer to call them technologies. It's stage restore and secure restore. So stage restore, actually, it's the ability to inject, let's say, a process into restore operation. So the first two were about leveraging the data, and the third one is about injecting something into restore operation. One of the ways how staged restore could be applied is compliance, including, GDPR and its right to be forgotten, let's say. The thing is that you can go to backup and remove data. You cannot go to backup and remove data from a backup because actually, I have to say that it's against backup safety nature. Yeah. And when someone asks to remove his personal data, you have from your production, while restoring from a backup, you need to ensure that this data will never land into the production you have, into production data set. And staged restore is a technology that was designed specifically for such purposes, for purposes like that. It's the ability to inject the process into restore operation in case where we were talking about right to be forgotten, this process, script will remove the undesired data from a backup before moving this virtual machine back from a backup to your production. And the last but not the least is secure restore. Actually, that's more about scanning the content for different malware threats, because today modern malware threats are really huge. And our secure restore is the ability to invoke third-party integrations that we have to run malware scans during a restore operation to make you aware, to make everything safe. So that was a kind of a high-level overview on Veeam DataLabs. Okay, so let's look at 4 additional use cases that Veeam Backup Application with its DataLabs can help you with. Aside traditional backup application with the help of Veeam DataLabs and the data that customers already have in their backups, let's have a look closer. First, improve backup-related operations efficiency by leveraging Sure Backup or to replica. That's how we can improve how efficient your backups and restores are by making sure that your backups are in a good state to recover from. Yeah? Sure Backup and Sure Replica will work for VMware workloads, and Sure Backup will work for Hyper-V as well. Then, how we can improve IT services and operations, as well as DevOps, by being able to spin up isolated environments that mirror your production for patch testing, updates testing, for any purpose you like. Or because in our lives, there are enormous number of different other daily occurrences in IT departments, etc. So you can leverage these data labs to, to make you help with these occurrences, problems, tasks, jobs. Then help to tackle security concerns, including forensic testing. So the thing is that you can also take these isolated environments, and it's a really good thing for security teams or forensics teams for, let's say, vulnerability testing, or also that we're not going to infect system by restoring a virtual machine with kind of malware hidden inside of a backup. So, and for these purposes, you can easily leverage our secure restore if needed. And finally, you can analyze your data and ensure that we are not restoring data to our production that shouldn't be there. And actually, that's huge. So, what is leveraging the data? Okay, you can actually leverage replicas, backups, etc. to actually mitigate lots of different risks using production-like environments we do call virtual labs. And actually, it's really coolest thing ever. But why? I'm saying that sometimes it's a bit hidden technology, because not all of you, as we've seen from our chat, not all of you are using our Veeam DataLabs. And from my perspective, that's real pity. Yeah, if you already have backup replication or Veeam availability suite in place, you should be leveraging your data in order to benefit from it. Okay, now let's, for those who are new, for those of you who are new to Veeam solutions, Veeam products, and especially data labs, let's have a short, let's say, history overview of leveraging the data with the help of Veeam solutions and Veeam products. So actually, many years ago, starting from version 5, we were able to run Sure backups and on-demand sandboxes from backups. 5 years ago, it was 2014 or 2015, with version 8, we've also added support to leverage your data from VMware virtual machine replicas. And when we started to integrate with production storage systems, we also added another really cool and nice thing, really nice feature, and really nice technology, I'd say. Ability to spin up all these virtual machines directly from storage level snapshots. So when you're creating a volume snapshot on a storage system, just a storage efficient clone of the original data, we can spin that data up in an isolated environment. And in fact, in the same time, you're also leveraging the compute and storage power of that investment you've already made. And that's really cool. And finally, in January last year, we've released update 4 for version 9.5 and added stage restore and secure restore to our data labs. So, and now let's get a bit closer to more, let's say, technical side of things, the components that we have in our DataLabs. So, and here we have a kind of DataLabs glossary. So first, DataLabs is a marketing name that encompasses all that I've mentioned before. Yeah, sometimes really, as I mentioned before, I like to treat it as a kind of umbrella. Then we have another three really, valuable components. First is virtual lab. A bit more in details, we'll discuss virtual lab later, but let's say that's the isolated part of the environment, isolated part of the resources we'll be leveraging. Then application group. Actually, what's that? That's kind of surrounding set of virtual machines will be starting their inside inside of a virtual lab. And sure backup job. That's the way how we aggregate virtual labs and application groups together to benefit from leveraging the data. So, as I promised, virtual labs. Virtual lab is an isolated virtual environment fully fenced from your production. That's true. So, what do we mean by saying that? Virtual lab leaves like a resource pool or a folder in your vSphere or Hyper-V environment. Yeah. These resource pool, this virtual lab, actually, it's completely separate from your production. It's isolated. Yeah. And for sure, we need to get somehow into the isolated environment we were talking before. So for these purposes, we need so-called proxy appliance. A bit later, I'll give you more details on our proxy appliances. So that's the place where we start all the virtual machines that were added to an application group. So virtual lab is used by many technologies that we have. First of all, for sure, it's sure backup. Then we have UAR, or Universal Application Item Recovery technology. I have to say that UAR technology is less used by our customers these days because of our perfect, really brilliant application explorers such as AD Explorer, SQL Explorer, Explorer for SharePoint, Exchange, Oracle, etc. And many years ago, when we have these explorers, UAR was really a nice thing in order to restore different application items. But UAR could be really beneficial in even these days, because let's say you have kind of a unique, extremely rare application we don't have explorers for, so you can leverage Universal Application Item Recovery technology in order to get, I don't know, some tables from MySQL or MariaDB or Mongo, whatever. So, and that's really nice. Then virtual labs are used for on-demand sandbox. So under the name of on-demand sandbox, we do mean these isolated environment for testing purposes. I don't know, for different DevOps, etc. That's really nice. And for sure, virtual labs are widely used in order to have staged restore in place. The key thing is that to run all these virtual machines, we need some resources for sure, because these are virtual machines. And you can run them on any virtualization host or cluster you have. It's not binded to the original one. But please remember that the hypervisor, type of hypervisor should be the same. So if you have virtual machines being backed up or being backed up from vSphere, target location for target host or target cluster for virtual app should have vSphere in place as well. And the same for Hyper-V. It was if source location for these backups, if you were backing up Hyper-V virtual machines, virtual lab should reside in Hyper-V host cluster. That's mandatory. Okay, one very important thing is that the network configuration of your virtual lab will mirror the exact network configuration from your production. So if you have two networks in your production, virtual lab require to have them there. And don't be afraid, it's really to configure virtual app to have 2, 3, 5, 10 virtual networks. Doesn't matter, just a few mouse button clicks and that's it. Virtual machines in an isolated environment, they have the same IP address like in production. We're just booting them from backup or replicate from a snapshot. Doesn't matter. We do not manipulate with their IP addresses, with what's going there inside of these virtual machines. So that's why we usually do say that's kind of mirroring your production for different purposes, and that's huge. And I have to stress once again that these environment is completely isolated, so you don't need to worry about, virtual machines with the same IP addresses, so they won't interfere. Okay, so virtual app proxy appliance I've mentioned before. Actually, it's a tiny Linux virtual machine that's automatically deployed on a host where the virtual app is created. It has at least 2 network adapters inside. One is used to expose this virtual machine inside a virtual lab, and the other one is used to expose this machine to your production outside of a virtual lab. So, and I have to say that that adapter that's inside of a virtual lab, it carries the same IP address as your default gateway in production environment. That means that all of those virtual machines that are started in isolated environment, they'll be using this particular proxy appliance and their own gateway. So yeah, and in fact, it acts as a gateway between virtual lab and production. But I have to say that it works only as a gateway to virtual lab. So some traffic can get inside, but it won't, the proxy appliance, it won't let anything from virtual lab to get outside. Because let's imagine the situation when I have one Active Directory in your production infrastructure, and then you need to have the same Active Directory being spun up from your backup file in an isolated environment, the virtual lab using on-demand sandbox. For sure, I think the situation with 2 Active Directories in one network, that's not really good. Yeah, that's why we do have this proxy appliance that won't let data traffic from inside the virtual lab to get outside. And that's really huge because it won't let to interfere there. Okay, so now I want to show you one interesting thing. So is how to add a new virtual lab. So this UI, I assume, is really familiar to you, and we're in backup infrastructure piece, so we can find different things here, different buttons. So we need to get to virtual labs. Then I already do have one pre-configured, so we'll just get inside and I'll show you what we can do. Okay, so now the first step is to give it a name, a kind of a name. It doesn't matter, it could be 1, 2, 3, test, whatever. Then we need to specify host or cluster that will be used for this particular virtual lab. Yeah, define resource pools, folders, etc. So it's really easy to do that, but you can do that only while creating a new virtual lab. Yeah. Then we have data stores here, and the next step is proxy. We've been talking before. Here's the initial configuration for this proxy component with its IP address, outside external IP address, the production network. Then you need to specify networking piece. We have 3 options, like basic single host. That's automatic configuration. It's suitable only for those purposes when you have just one virtual network inside. Usually I do recommend to leverage the second one, advanced single host. That's manual configuration. It gives you more flexibility configuring what you have. and it's really nice one. So if you have a number of networks and you need to reflect them in your isolated environment, that's an option for you. Yeah. For different complex purposes, we have third option called advanced multi-host configuration. So let's say if you have a distributed virtual switch that's available only in Enterprise Plus edition of vSphere, so that would be a beneficial option for you. But that's more complex type of network in our virtual apps. That's why I usually do prefer to leverage the second one because it's gold middle. Yeah. Okay, so the next thing here, we can easily map different networks. So that's networking part of virtual lab itself. We can map them production network to isolated network. If you need, you can go with different VLAN IDs for these purposes. So if you have many networks, just add another one by pressing the appropriate button here, and map it to one of isolated networks. So it's really easy to do that. Okay, so the next step is to specify networking settings for these proxy components. So here we need to type in actually the IP address of your production default gateway in order to make virtual machines that will be started to try to access our proxy component. Yeah. So masquerade network is a really nice thing. It's the way how you get access to those virtual machines that are running in isolated environment. Other option, other step is static mapping. So that's the way how you can expose one of those virtual machines started in virtual lab to your production. Yeah. So you can assign a specific IP address from your production to one of these virtual machines, and you'll be able easily to get access to these virtual machines without working with using masquerade IP addresses or using different Trojan rules. Okay, the next thing we have, the next component we've been talking about, it's our application group. So what application group is? It's a set of interdependent virtual machines. Let me give you kind of an example. Let's take a regular web server. Yeah. So for a regular web server, what we need Active Directory, DNS, kind of database, and AD will be used to authenticate the database, and the application group will contain all of these I mentioned. Yeah, predefined order, additional VMs that should be leveraged. The source for these virtual machines added to an application group could be backup or snapshot or maybe a virtual machine replicant. That's really nice. Another good thing is that you can mix them. So let's say with an example about web server, yeah. DNS could be started from a backup file. No problems at all. But we do have a database that require really high performance. So in this scenario, you'll be able to easily start this particular database directly from storage level and via snapshot. So resources of production storage system will be used in order to give you these level of performance needed for a database, and that's really nice. Okay, now let's see what we have else and how to work with application groups. So we're here in Sure Backups tab. We can see all these options. Add virtual app, we've done that. Now we do have add application group. For sure, we have other options like add Sure Backup jobs and run Sure Backup job, but we'll try to see and dig into these two a bit later, yeah, because we don't need them right now. Okay, so there are multiple options to add new application group. You can do that by pressing this particular button, or we can get to application groups here, right mouse button, add new. And I do have one already pre-configured. So once again, we need to specify, type in just regular name for our application group. And here we have to add all of the virtual machines that we need. So add VM, and we can see that we have options to edit from backups, from virtual machine replicas, and from storage snapshots as well. So we can mix them together. So here we don't have just one virtual machine. It's I've assigned a web server role to this particular virtual machine, because here in verification options you can assign different basic roles. Yeah, so that means that web services will be verified. If you assign SQL role, that means database services will be automatically verified for this particular virtual machine, etc. Yeah. But if you need, you can add your own custom test scripts if you want to. Another good thing is here in startup options, we have we can specify amount of resources given to this virtual machine. Yeah, because for sure it's not the best idea for test purposes to start all these virtual machines with the same amount of resources given. So as for test scripts, here you can specify them. If you want to, you can, I don't know, pull different network ports, add additional credentials, custom credentials, that's it actually. It's really easy to configure an application group. All you need to do is just open the wizard and just click, 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 and here you go. It's here. And that's really nice. So now let's talk a bit about your backup job. At this point, application group sits completely separate from your virtual lab, from a virtual lab we've created before. Yeah? So that's why we do need sure backup job, because it will tie these two components together. That's the way how we aggregate them together, is a sure backup job. It's a bit confusing, actually, sometimes, because we remember that sure backup job is a verification process, but just the name of this process. But at the same time, sure backup job will be used to create isolated sandboxes. The creation wizard of a job will be the same. And that's really nice, because it simplifies all the operations. Okay, now let's have a look on what do we have here and how to create a sure backup job. Yeah, all we need to do is we can get to Home, Jobs, right mouse button, create a sure backup job. Or yeah, we can, I don't know, press right mouse button over jobs on the left side of the screen, or top ribbon. So there are really multiple ways to do that. I do have already pre-created sure backup job. Let's get inside and see what's there. Once again, its name. You need to specify for this particular job and the description if you wish. Then look at that. We need to select a virtual lab we've configured before here. Then application group we want to verify, or we want to have in our sandbox. And look at that, there is a small tick box, keep the application group running after job completes. So that's the difference. If it's disabled, that's going to be sure backup job. If you enable this tick box, job will switch technology. For sure, you'll be able to verify with those virtual machines, but also these application group will be up and running over there for forever if you want to, or for a number of hours. Here we can add, I know, additional virtual machines you want to add to an isolated environment for different purposes. You can just enable tick box, link jobs, and add them from backup job. And look at that, in settings, we do have really nice options. Backup file integrity scan, okay, but the second one is malware scan, just one tick box, and together with sure backup job will run a malware scan. So you can run these scans on daily basis after each and every restore point creation that we can see here. So we can go for daily sure backup jobs, monthly, or you can make it run after, let's say, primary backup job. And that's huge. That means that you have a regular backup job, and after it's successfully completed, it will automatically trigger a sure backup job that will verify the latest restore point created. What do you think? I think that's really nice and really helpful. You don't need to worry about verification process for these purposes. Okay, so now let's go through provisioning process for virtual lab, for actually not for virtual lab, but for all these technologies we were talking before. So here, at the bottom of the screen, we have our production environment, number of virtual machines running here with their own IP addresses. Then the second step, a virtual lab comes up. We're actually deploying automatically starting Veeam proxy appliance that will isolate, that will separate these two environments, production one and virtual lab. Then the proxy appliance, look at that. Yeah, we have an IP address to our production network, and we have IP address assigned to proxy appliance that links to the isolated environment that we've created. That's really nice. And we also have, let's say, masquerade IP address. Yeah. So the next step, we can start an application group. Actually, it will be done automatically. And I have to remind you that these virtual machines in application group, they could be started from different sources like backup, storage snapshot, and virtual machine replicas. That's really nice. So how you can get access to virtual lab, to DataLabs in order to do something? Yeah, when it comes to Sure Backup jobs, everything will be done automatically. We'll verify all these virtual machines or only some of these virtual machines you want to test. But when we're talking about on-demand sandbox, you need to get that. I'm sure you want to get access somehow to this data lab or to give this access to someone. So actually, there are a few ways to do that. Remember about masquerade IP. So let's say we have a workstation. Also, I have to say that backup application will have automatic access into that data lab. So if you're logged into server Veeam where you have Veeam backup application, from this machine, you can easily get into demo lab if you want to. But if you have a separate workstation, all you need to do is just route that. That's the networking piece. That's the network you want to get access. The masquerade IP address, look at that. And then you need to add proxy appliance as a gateway. That's really nice. After that, you'll be able to automatically, using these masquerade IP addresses, you'll be automatically able to SSH inside or RDP inside of those virtual machines easily. And please remember that we have another option. We've seen a few minutes ago, so you can take one of these virtual machines and assign a static IP address to this machine and expose this machine to the outer world if you want to. Sometimes that's helpful. Okay, removal process now. First of all, after the successful completion of Sure Backup job, or when you don't need to have Sandbox up and running anymore, what we'll do, we'll power off these virtual machines. Then we'll remove them. After that, the next step is that actually we're not removing them, we're just unpublishing that. Then we're stopping virtual lab engine, deleting all these roads, etc. And here we go. So now let's get closer to use cases and let's say technical overview. And I want to show you a few things about your backup job verification. For those of you who attended maybe some of our webinars or attended different exhibitions, I assume you've seen some presentation pictures similar to this one that I have in my presentation. Yeah, so a short description of how Sure Backup works. Yeah, and the main idea here is that having compressed the backup file, we can, start using our really nice vPower technology, start these virtual machines from backup file with no need to rehydrate them, decompress, start them in isolated environment in our virtual lab, and we can verify virtual machines operating systems. I know time needed to boot, network accessibility. We'll start all the application and services needed. And after that, you can get a report with the results of this verification. And let's have a look actually how that works. Yeah, I do have a Sure Backup job created and start. And here we go. Here we can see all different details and steps and actions taken. So right side of the screen, we can see that we do have, that's a resource pool that defines our virtual lab, and the virtual machine that started right now, it's our proxy component, network proxy, let's pin it. Okay, that's the IP address, that's a production IP address of this appliance. Okay, it's working, perfect. It's really nice. Now we can see and measure inside that now we're starting to publish the virtual machine that we have. Okay, let's see if it's already here. Okay, yeah, let's have a look here. So here we can see that our backup file is mounted as a data store to vSphere. Let's get back. Okay, and here we go. That's the virtual machine we were waiting for. So That means we have proxy, network proxy component that was started at the very beginning. Now we have CentOS virtual machine, and in remote console we can see that it's already working. Now let's get back here. So it's powering on right now. Yeah, that's true. Now it's going application initialization process, and we're running test scripts. That's nice. Done. That's it. Actually, I speeded up process a bit, yeah, because it can take like maybe 1 minute more. And in that case, I want to show you how it looks. In the result, you'll get such a report with all the details on sure backup verification process. So look at that here. We can see that we have no errors, nothing. Yeah, everything is successful. Web server scripts, path, etc. Results passed. And we can see that on the right side of the screen that my OS test was disabled. We've done that not to waste the time, actually. That's really nice. Now let's talk a bit about on-demand sandbox, so the way how you can leverage the data. So pretty much the same from, let's say, trainer perspective, but the main idea is here not to verify, not to test backups for recoverability, because we already know that they're okay, that they're healthy. The main idea here is to create a constant environment, persistent environment that could be used by you for different purposes. And after that, you can do whatever you like. Test batch updates, I know, perform different reconfigurations. You'll have a mirror of your productions there. And remember that you can do that directly from storage snapshots if you have appropriate technologies in place. That's really nice. Okay, let's have a look what we can do here with the help of on-demand sandbox. The same thing, we have a job here, yeah, but be aware, application group and this tick box is enabled. Keep the application group running after the job completes. Now it's started. Okay, now it's starting. Let's see what we have there inside. And at the same time, we'll open this vSphere and the application that's inside of this virtual machine. It's a regular web server with, different details, different pages. That's the original production virtual machine. Yeah. And now let's get to our vSphere. So that's networking proxy piece. It's already started. Yeah. So in just a few seconds, we'll see how our virtual machine will be started in an isolated environment. Let's give it a few minutes to do so. Actually, it's really nice because it's really nice when you can have all of your virtual machines somewhere. Because usually I remember for me it was it was really a nightmare to create sandboxes manually. Okay, now let's ping it to see how it's working. Okay, and that's the production one. Okay. And let's try to get access to, that's the Masquerade AP, by the way, for the virtual machines we're booting in virtual lab. It's not here yet. It's not working. Okay. Let's have a look then. I think we need to, okay, yeah. Now it's here. That's perfect. That's really much better now. Let's ping it one more time. Okay, and here we go. It's here, up and running in an isolated environment, and from our production, we can get access inside by using the Masquerade IP address, the same one we're pinging. And enter. Here we go. The same virtual machine, and that's really huge. So, stage restore. Let's discuss stage restore a bit. I think I won't show you actual demo of stage restore, just not to waste the time, because injecting process, waiting for execution, etc. It may take some time. So the main idea is, that let's say you have data that you want to be restored together with a virtual machine from a backup file and taken to production. I don't know, maybe because of right to be forgotten, GDPR, or because of some other reason, doesn't matter. So the main idea is that we're starting a virtual machine in an isolated environment in our virtual lab. We're pushing a special script. When injecting the script inside of the virtual machine, for sure, you need to have the script pre-created before. And after successful execution of this particular script inside, and for sure, you can leverage application groups. Yeah, because maybe you have to remove some data from a database, and you need Active Directory to be in place for SQL to be properly started, or for so many other reasons. So we'll push the script inside, we'll execute the script, and after successful completion, we'll migrate a virtual machine from isolated environment with the undesired data being removed to your production. And that's really nice. Okay. The next thing I want to cover is a secure restore technology that we have. So let's see how it works. Okay, let's say you have a regular restore point somewhere created by Veeam backup application. So secure restore is a bit different from the technologies we already discussed from Sure Backup, on-demand sandbox, and state restore, because there is no need to start a virtual machine in an isolated environment for these purposes. We're simply mounting a content of a backup file, actually VHD or VMDK virtual machine disk. In fact, the mount server, it's an additional row that could be added, that's automatically added to your repository, or you can, I don't know, configure Veeam to use another virtual physical machine as a mount server. So actually, that's not a problem. We're just mounting a virtual machine disk, and then we're triggering antivirus scan on the backup file before recovery process will begin. That's really nice. There are a number of options how we can process if the infection was found. So first of all, you can proceed with the restore operation, but with disabled networking pairs for this virtual machine, or you can actually cancel the restore operation automatically. That's really nice. So out of the box, we can leverage Windows Defender, and that's really nice because, you know, it's already there in Windows operating system in place. Or we can leverage ESAT or Symantec. These three are out of the box, but that doesn't mean that you cannot use your own antivirus for these purposes, because you can do that. You can take any other antivirus software, but it should have same command line support, because you'll need to create a small XML file where you'll describe, so that's my antivirus, that's the executable for my antivirus, etc. So it's pretty simple. Okay, let's have a look how it works. Let's restore virtual machine. We can get your stop button. Let's restore from a backup into Veeam restore. And not to waste the time, let's take lots of different options actually, and the secure restore works for all of them. Let's take instant Veeam recovery operation. So that's I want to restore with the restore point. Let's take latest, and I want to restore it to a new location because otherwise it will restore it on top of the original virtual machine. Okay, let's rename it. Yes, we do need to do that. And look at that, scan content. That's the tick box that enables secure restore. Really nice. Okay, finish. Let's give it a few seconds. Okay, it's in progress, and now we want to see all the results of this operation. So that's the mount operation we can see here, and the secure operation. And look at that. The malware is detected. That's it. And now we're restoring without network adapters here, with networking part disabled. And that's really nice. But as I mentioned in the very beginning, we have a number of additional integrations in our product portfolio, in our Veeam availability platform that and with these integration with these products, you can also benefit from our data labs. And first of all, I want to say about Veeam One and its reporting capabilities, because look at that, you may have different reports with verified VMs. Like here we have a description that's a VM overview. That's okay, interval 1 month, and verification rate. Protected VMs 4, verified VMs just 1. Verified VM status history, passed with warnings, or failed. That's really nice. We have different recovery verification overview reports. So here we can see all the details. And you can imagine the situation, like you can take this report, you can print it and go to boss and say, hey boss, that's the current situation. Everything is brilliant. Everything is working. Everything is tested, verified, and so on and so forth. So another really awesome product that we have is called Veeam Availability Orchestrator. And I have to say that it heavily relies on DataLabs underneath. No matter what you want to verify, which type of service, if you want to verify your failover plan or restore plan, actually, Veeam Availability Orchestrator, it's really a huge topic to talk about, and it's really interesting, useful one. But the thing is, yeah, for verification process, yeah, if you want to verify some of the virtual machines, that's added to one of the plans in Veeam Availability Orchestrator will rely on DataLabs, but the verification process, it will be much more in-depth verification compared to Veeam backup and replication. And last but not least, not the last, but it doesn't matter, it's our enterprise manager. But enterprise manager can give you the ability to leverage self-service on-demand sandboxes, guys. Your DevOps or I don't know, developers, whoever, they can log into Enterprise Manager and request a data lab using, I don't know, name or IP address of virtual machine with the service they need, and they can create this request. Like, I want this particular virtual machine. I want it up and running for 20, 30, 40 minutes, 2 hours request. And here you go. After that, the backup administrator will see these requests in Enterprise Manager and it approve it or decline. If it will be approved, on-demand sandbox will be automatically started with the help of Veeam backup replication data labs, and these employees who've requested data lab will be able to get access inside. And now, last but not least, okay, that's a special thing only for those who want to go beyond boundaries. We have shell snap in. So if you know these fancy, nice, beautiful wizards is not enough for you, you can leverage our PowerShell capabilities. Okay, so now about data labs. We have really big number of different technologies covered with data labs umbrella, and they're available in different editions. Even you know, in standard edition, you can get TQ restore easily, yeah. But for all those technologies that we have that are leveraging on virtual labs, you need to have enterprise edition at least. And if you want to leverage these capabilities of storage systems, especially if you want to run on-demand sandboxes from storage snapshots, you need to have enterprise plus edition of Veeam backup replication or Veeam availability suite. Okay, now actually we're getting closer to the end of our today's webinar. But before, I'd like to announce a few things. And I want to start first with information on our Veeam on Virtual, because on November 20, we're providing Veeam on Virtual conference. Veeam on Virtual looks like a really physical event, but it all takes place online. Without leaving the office, that's actually is your chance to engage with Veeam's leading expert partners, and more than actually we're planning to have more than 5,000 attendees. So you'll be able to receive access to different release sessions, resources. You'll be able to see our top new innovations, tools, techniques needed today, etc. So that's really nice, and I'd highly recommend you to attend our Veeam on virtual. That's going to be really, really interesting for you. Okay, so also I do remember that I promised you a few resources. So these are QR codes. I think you know what to do with QR codes. And you'll get this presentation a bit later, so you'll be able to scan them easily. So do not waste the time just taking photo of these QR codes right now. And gentlemen, activate your data. I think now we have a few minutes to answer your questions you've placed in our Q&A part of the application. Okay, just give me a few seconds. I'll have a look. What do we have there? Okay, I can say actually that when asked the question about why you're not leveraging the data, lots of answers that you've never heard about it, etc. You're unfamiliar with this aspect of the product. So, gentlemen, now I assume you know what it is and what it does. Okay, snapshots. Can we get more details? Actually, can get more details on our website, in our technical documentation, and I'm sure on our website you can find lots of pre-recorded webinars about our production source integration, because we do have really nice technologies such as backup from storage snapshots, on-demand sandboxes from storage snapshots, explore from storage snapshots when we can restore application items and file directly from a snapshot of volume that was exposed as a data store. Okay. Okay, yeah, the recording will be available just a bit later, so don't worry that you can attend session from the very beginning. And yeah, you'll get this presentation as well. How do I know that I have Sure backup or not? That depends on the edition you have. Yeah. If you have Enterprise Edition of Veeam Backup Application or Veeam Availability Suite, this means that you do have Sure Backup there and on-demand sandbox technology as well. All we need to do is just to properly configure VLab, Virtual Lab, and Application Group and the jobs themselves. That's it. Okay, is Sure Backup and Sure Replicas the same thing? From verification perspective, yeah, because the main idea is to verify. And first case, with Sure Backup, it's backup verification operation. So we're starting a virtual machine from a backup file directly. With Sure Replica, that works only with vSphere. Pretty much the same, but we're just starting these virtual machine replicas in isolated environment in order not to make them interfere with your production of the original environment. And we'll run all these tests, etc. The masquerade IP is exposed to production network. Can these not cause any conflicts on production networks? Okay, actually, the main idea is for sure that you need to know which subnetworks are occupied by virtual machines, etc. So you need to find just a free one and use it at masquerade IP. That's it. If this network is free, with this network mask, etc., it means that you can use it for as a masquerade IP for our virtual lab. and you won't have any problems and conflicts. And yeah, for sure, you can select those VMs, because if you use static mapping, you can select specific virtual machines. So let's say I want to expose this particular database from VLab to my production network, or I want to expose this web server or whatever I may have. And Masquerade AP works for all the virtual machines that are there. And please remember that we do have a special network proxy that's actually fencing production environment and virtual lab that won't give them to interfere by default. Is it possible to have long-term data lab or on-demand sandbox where testing takes more than they own? Yeah, for sure. You can keep it up and running, and then 1, 2, 3 days, or even a week if you want to. That's up to you, because you can manually spin up the on-demand sandbox, and you can manually power it off if you want to. Okay, so as for cross-platform migration of VMs through backups, so out of the box, like if you backed up a virtual machine from vSphere, you cannot restore it in agentless mode to Hyper-V. Yeah, but we'd have agent for physical servers. So you can just, if you have just one virtual machine you want to migrate, to some extent you can back it up from the inside with help of our agent, because for vSphere and Hyper-V, we do not need any agents. But you can take a regular physical agent that we have installed inside the virtual machine, and then there is an option to export content of a backup file as a virtual machine disk, and there you can select what you want to, if it's VMDK file or VHD or VHTX files. So that's how you can actually convert it some way. And as for AWS, etc., the thing is that if you have a backup created by Veeam backup application in agentless mode, or have agents, you can easily restore it out of the box to AWS or Microsoft Azure. We have wizards that can help you to do that, and there you can, I want to restore these backup to AWS, and I want to have an instance of that size, etc., with this type of networking, with these networks connected. Okay, how to configure proxy if we have multiple production VLANs. So there in the networking part, when I was showing it, you have an option to add multiple network mapping rules. So that's the option to do that. As for long-term data lab, no, it won't affect daily backup. Actually, for those who are asking how to get the software, how to test, how to try it, you can do that on our website. You can see there, general description on our products. So it's really easy to do that. Yes, there is download button. Okay, do we need to use the agent for cloud-to-cloud backup? Yeah, for those cases when there is no access to hypervisor level, and obviously that's the case with different public clouds, you have to, at that moment, you have to install our Veeam agent for Linux or Windows inside of such a virtual machine running somewhere over there in public cloud. And if you have this backup created by our agent, then you can restore it wherever you like directly from Veeam backup application. It's really easy to do that. Okay, what do we have else? Okay, looks like that's it. So, ladies and gentlemen, it was a real pleasure for me to see you today. I hope this webinar was informative for you, and we've discussed a number of really interesting things. I have to say that there's going to be kind of a short survey available now after the end of this webinar. And so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. It was a real pleasure for me today to deliver this webinar we had. Have a good day. Good luck.